So I think one of the challenges when it comes to measurement as a whole is which tactic, which measurement should I use, should I not use, etc. And I think a lot of people in the industry are absolutists. They go, this is the only way to measure, this is how you should do it, this is how you shouldn't do this. And on one of our Curve Your Enthusiasms, Mo Kiss had a really interesting comment. She mentioned how for different markets, there's different levels of sophistication. And as the brand grows, she changes those measurement types. So I think making sense of this wraps in a bunch of different concepts of where you are at the market, where is your brand in its life cycle, and what is the appropriate form of measurement that you should be looking at or focusing on. So for instance, if you're a brand new brand and no one has ever heard of you, your ROAS, your iROAS are basically the same value. And what I mean by that is if no one's heard of you, then every sale is incremental. It's only until you start building a baseline and you start growing as a brand do those start to diverge, and those diverge, drastically over time, which is why I always recommend iROAS over ROAS and mROAS over iROAS. Now, with that though, making sense of it with your brand size and scale is how robust can you test? If you're doing something like market mix models and you have a very small amount of revenue, that's very hard to do. If you're trying to do experiments with very low level of spend or very low amount of penetration in the markets, that's a very tenuous sort of data set to be working with to draw those conclusions from. So when it comes to the crazy world of measurement, it really depends on where you are. What you see is newer brands have greater marginal ROAS is better iROAS is because they're early and they haven't caught those low-hanging fruit people who are ready to purchase anyways. And they go, oh, I just want this alternative. I see your ad. It resonates with me. I'm going to buy. And as your brand grows, it's kind of like there's a bell curve of in the middle is people completely unaware of you. On one side is the people who will never buy you, aren't interested, aren't in market, and never will be. And then on the other side is the loyalists. They love you. They purchase you all the time. This is exactly what they want, dead set or bullseye type of client. Now, when a brand starts, it goes like this, where it's all unknown and in the middle. But as the brand grows, people pick a side. Either you're Coke or Pepsi, or you're no soda at all, and you end up on those sides. So with that, you get lower marginal ROAS, you get lower incrementality because people already know who you are. Unless you're coming out with a new product line or doing something completely different, that U shape makes it very hard to get the metrics for advertising because the best advertising is experiencing your product. And if everyone has experienced your product, an ad is not going to shift their behavior that drastically, as opposed to I saw it and I loved it, I saw it and I hated it, or I experienced it and I felt this way about it. So when it comes to which measurement and where you are in that cycle, it's extremely important, and calibrating what is considered good and what is considered bad. And as they work from the ROAS, iROAS, mROAS chain with marketers, I'm also looking at, are they a new brand, emerging brand, leading brand, or like the champion legacy brand? And that kind of information allows me to calibrate to say, hey, is this a good return on investment? Is this impressive? Is this something that's, off of a big base? A 1% lift off of a big base is huge relative to a 5% lift off of a very small base. So these are the kind of computations, imputations that you look at when you're comparing performance of brands, either brand to brand or not. And this is sort of why I'm not a huge fan of benchmarks, because even in an industry, the industry benchmarks are very different than the brands within it. And that's the point, is you want to differentiate. So benchmarking is tough, and saying which one is the right tool for the right job is highly dependent on which market and where you are in that market to give you the right answer for those questions.